Before you take another step, ask yourself, what if everything you've been told about the Israel-Iran conflict is a lie? What if this isn't just about power, land, or political control? What if this battle is much deeper, more complex, and more dangerous than anyone dares to admit? This is a war not just of nations, but of ideologies, secrets, and the very fate of the world. The world watches in silence, as Israel and Iran edge closer to what many fear will be a catastrophic showdown. But why? Why are we standing on the precipice of this war? Could there be something more hidden beneath the surface? Something far darker than mere territorial disputes? Is it possible that what we see unfolding is not the full truth, but a carefully constructed narrative hiding the true players behind the scenes? In this video, you will uncover the secrets that both Israel and Iran desperately want to keep hidden. You will discover the true motivations behind their escalating conflict, the covert operations that have shaped this war from the shadows, and why this conflict goes beyond just Israel and Iran. Prepare to see a reality that will change everything you thought you knew about global power dynamics and the hidden forces driving this war. Stay tuned, because what you're about to learn might shock you, but it could also be the key to understanding the most pivotal conflict of our time. What will you do with this knowledge once it's revealed? Will you stand in silence, or will you speak up? Join the conversation in the comments below, like and subscribe for more revelations that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. The complex tensions between Israel and Iran. The ancient struggle between Israel and Iran is not a simple tale of borders or political power. It is a war born of deep-rooted ideologies, beliefs, and long-standing histories that stretch beyond what the eye can see. The tension between these two nations is ancient, rooted in a time before borders were drawn and empires fell. But this is no ordinary conflict. It is a battle of destiny itself, a collision of sacred truths, ideologies, and rival claims to divine promises. Consider this. Israel, standing as the beacon of strength in the Middle East, its military might unmatched, operates as both a shield and a sword. They are relentless in their pursuit of security, and their presence in the region is a constant reminder of what has been built and what they must protect at all costs. Yet behind every missile defense system, every strategy, lies a deep-seated question of survival. But Iran is not simply a nation of oil and politics. It is a land that carries the weight of history, of faith, and of a people bound by an unshakable resolve. Iran's ambitions are not limited to territory or resources. They are tied to an ancient vision, an ideology that challenges the world's view of power and faith. Their program is not just about nuclear weapons. It is about the promise of returning to a time when they could stand against the world. When Israel strikes, it is not just with bombs, but with a message that echoes across the centuries. A message of defiance, a refusal to bow down, even in the face of overwhelming odds. And in response, Iran builds, not just weapons, but its own vision of future dominance. The tension between these two nations is not merely political, it is spiritual, ideological, and deeply emotional. This conflict, my friends, is not just about power. It is about the survival of two competing worldviews. And in the midst of it all, the world watches, wondering where the end of this tension lies. Will peace come, or will there be war? The complex web of Israel and America's relationship. Israel's relationship with America is one of powerful dependence and calculated leverage. But let us not be deceived. This connection is not merely one of mutual respect, but of strategic survival. Israel's strength is bolstered not just by its military, but by its ally, the United States. The alliance between these two is built on a foundation of shared values, yet it is far from simple. Consider the leadership of Donald Trump, who, with a firm hand, aligned his vision with Israel's ambitions. He understood the power of unity in the face of overwhelming opposition. His policies, from the relocation of the US's embassy to recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital, sent shockwaves across the world, and Israel stood as the beneficiary of his unwavering support. Yet, in this alliance, Israel is not the only one that stands to gain. America's role in this relationship is strategic, rooted in its need to maintain influence over the Middle East, a region steeped in oil, power, and instability. But here lies the catch. While this relationship has served both nations well, it has placed them both in a precarious position, where one misstep could pull them into a global conflict they can neither control nor fully predict. In the face of such pressure, both Israel and the United States walk a tightrope, careful to never show the world how easily they could both topple into chaos. But it's not just a political alliance. It's a bond forged in the fires of necessity, and both nations have long understood that their destinies are forever intertwined. And yet, this dependence can also be a curse. When the world demands action, it is not just Israel that feels the weight of the decision, but America too. A single miscalculation, a misstep in strategy, could ignite a war that neither side could win. The dangerous moves and the imminent confrontation. As tensions rise, the words of Israel's leaders become sharper, more dangerous. Netanyahu's recent comments have stirred the waters, but his words are not merely for public consumption. They are part of a larger, carefully orchestrated psychological strategy. Israel has never been one to shy away from battle, but this war is not only fought with bombs, it is fought in the minds and hearts of the people. Netanyahu's calls for rebellion, for the Iranian people to rise against their oppressive regime, are not just rhetoric. They are calculated moves in a larger game of influence, where the hearts of the people become the ultimate prize. By calling for revolution, Israel is trying to weaken Iran from within, to turn the Iranian people against their leadership in hopes of sparking chaos that will undermine their government's stability. But beyond the words lies the battle of information, the war that is fought on the digital frontier. The cyber battles have already begun, where disinformation spreads faster than the missiles, and the lines between truth and lies blur. As both Israel and Iran engage in this modern form of warfare, the world watches through the lens of a screen, consumed by the spectacle and unaware of the damage being done behind the curtain. The question is not just who will win the battle of missiles, but who will control the hearts and minds of the people. The power of information, of perception, is as dangerous as any weapon, and in the hands of Israel and Iran, it becomes an incredibly potent force. But this is only one part of the equation. The truth is, what we are witnessing is not a typical military confrontation. It is a war for control over the future itself. As Israel and Iran continue to escalate, the question becomes not what will happen to them, but what will happen to us, to the rest of the world caught in the wake of their battle. The fate of nations rests on the edge of this precipice, and only time will reveal the true cost of the decisions made today. The nuclear issue and its global consequences. As the sun sets over the Persian Gulf, casting a crimson glow across the horizon, one thing becomes painfully clear. The question of nuclear power is not just a political decision. It is a question of life and death. Iran's pursuit of nuclear technology has never been about mere energy or defense. It is about asserting power, challenging the world's established order, and, at its core, proving that no one can dictate the terms of their destiny. For years, the whispers of a nuclear Iran have grown louder, and yet they have been ignored, dismissed, and even ridiculed. But now, the world can no longer turn a blind eye. Iran's insistence on continuing its nuclear program is not a mere political choice. It is an ideological stance, one that defies global norms and presents an undeniable challenge to the established powers that shape the Middle East and beyond. Iran's leaders are not driven solely by the pursuit of technology or military supremacy. They are driven by an ancient belief that their role in history is far from over. Their nuclear ambitions are not merely about weapons, they are about rewriting the rules of global power, securing their place on the world stage, and protecting their sacred beliefs against those who would see them vanish into obscurity. But what happens when a nation steps outside the lines of international agreements, when it dares to challenge the very framework of the global order? The implications are profound, far-reaching, and dangerous. The potential for catastrophic escalation, the unraveling of years of diplomatic efforts, and the tipping of the world into a new, unpredictable era is no longer just a theory, it is a reality. This is the moment of reckoning. Iran's decision to continue its nuclear path could open the floodgates to a new era of arms races, instability, and unpredictable conflict. As the world watches, it becomes clear that the repercussions will not only affect Iran, Israel, or the Middle East, they will resonate across the globe, altering the future of nations, alliances, and the very nature of peace itself. The New World Order and its global impact. When war beckons, the ripples of its influence stretch far beyond the immediate battlefield. A conflict between Israel and Iran is not just a Middle Eastern crisis, it is a global earthquake, one whose aftershocks will reverberate across the continents. We stand at the precipice of a new world order, where the actions of a few powerful players could alter the balance of power for generations to come. Imagine a world where the fate of nations is determined by the outcome of a single, intense confrontation. In such a world, the survival of peace is fragile, and the ability of the world's powers to manage such chaos is uncertain at best. Just as the great powers of the past have shaped history with their battles, so too will the consequences of the Israel-Iran conflict shape the coming age. Think back to the days of the Cold War, when a single misstep by the Soviet Union or the United States could have plunged the world into nuclear devastation. The stakes were high, but the danger was controlled by the balance of fear, the understanding that mutual destruction was the ultimate deterrent. But in today's world, the balance has shifted. The rise of new, often unpredictable players, Russia, China, and the emerging powers of the East, has complicated the equation. The old alliances no longer hold the same weight, and the sense of security once offered by the world's superpowers has begun to crumble. What would happen if the Israel-Iran conflict pulls in these new players? What if Russia or China, with their own strategic interests, choose to intervene or even escalate the situation? What if these moves trigger a chain reaction that leads to a global confrontation, the likes of which we have never seen before? The specter of war, once thought to be relegated to history, now looms larger than ever. As the world watches the rising tensions in the Middle East, the question must be asked: are we truly prepared for the consequences of this conflict? Are we ready to face the truth that the entire global system may be upended by this battle? This is the tipping point. This is the moment where the old world order gives way to a new, uncertain future. The decisions made today will determine the future of nations, alliances, and ultimately, the fate of humanity. What side of history will you stand on when the world changes forever? Resolving conflict and seeking peace. Amidst the raging storm of war, there comes a moment when the world must choose. Will it continue down the path of destruction, or will it rise above, seeking peace, understanding, and unity? As the Israel-Iran conflict threatens to consume everything in its wake, there is a flicker of hope, a chance for the world to choose a different path. This path is not easy, and it is not without sacrifice, but it is a path that holds the power to heal the wounds of a broken world. The history of human conflict is written in blood, in loss, and in despair. From the ancient battles to the wars of the modern age, humanity has always faced the challenge of reconciliation. But peace, true peace, is not simply the absence of war. It is the creation of a new reality, a reality in which the old hatreds and wounds are transformed into understanding, where those who once stood on opposite sides of the battlefield can look into each other's eyes and see not enemies, but brothers and sisters. This is the challenge that lies before us now. The conflict between Israel and Iran may seem insurmountable, like an endless cycle of violence and revenge. But what if the key to breaking this cycle lies not in more weapons, but in more dialogue, more empathy, more understanding? History has shown us that peace can be achieved, even in the most impossible of circumstances. Look at the example of the Oslo Accords, where Israel and Palestine, two bitter enemies, came together to make the first steps toward reconciliation. It was not perfect, and it was not without its setbacks, but it was a beginning. Peace is always a beginning. It is not a destination, but a journey. When in this moment, the world must ask itself, what kind of future do we want to create? Do we want to continue in a cycle of violence, or do we want to build something new, something better? It is not enough to hope for peace. We must actively work toward it. We must seek understanding even when it seems impossible. We must reach across the divide and grasp the hand of our enemies, not with fear, but with the desire to heal. The true test of our humanity lies not in how we fight, but in how we make peace. It lies in our ability to listen, to learn, and to change. We must choose to become the peacemakers, the ones who stand in the gap, not with weapons, but with words, with empathy, with the willingness to forgive. As the world watches the Israel-Iran conflict unfold, there is a choice before us all. Will we continue to watch as the flames of war burn brighter, or will we choose to be the light that guides the world toward peace? In the end, it is not the destruction of our enemies that will define us, but the creation of a world in which all can live in peace and harmony. It is up to us to choose. The choice is ours, and it begins with each of us, in our hearts, in our actions, in the way we engage with the world around us. Let us choose peace, not because it is easy, but because it is the only way to truly heal the wounds of the past. Let us choose peace, not just for Israel and Iran, but for the world, for the future, and for the generations to come. As we stand at the crossroads of a world filled with uncertainty and fear, there is one undeniable truth that remains. We are all connected by something far deeper than the superficial struggles that divide us. The wars we fight, the battles we wage, whether on the global stage or in the quiet recesses of our own hearts, are not the end of the story. They are but chapters in a much greater narrative, a narrative that transcends time, that moves us all toward a higher calling. And that calling is the pursuit of peace, of understanding, and of healing. When we speak of peace, we are not just speaking of the absence of conflict. Peace is more than that. It is the healing of wounds, the reconciliation of broken hearts, and the rebuilding of communities torn apart by hatred and fear. True peace is not found in the silence of weapons, but in the unity of souls. It is found in the courage to reach out to those we fear, to listen to those we disagree with, and to extend the hand of grace, even when it feels impossible. It is found in the choice to walk the path of understanding, even when the road is fraught with obstacles. As the Israel-Iran conflict rages on, we must ask ourselves, What is it that we are really fighting for? Is it the control of land, of power, of resources? Or is it something deeper, something that transcends these earthly concerns? Could it be that beneath the surface, we are all fighting for something much more profound? We are fighting for our place in this world, for our dignity, for our right to live without fear, for our children to inherit a world where peace is more than just a distant dream. But if we truly want peace, we must understand that it begins with us, within our own hearts. The world will only change when we choose to change, when we choose to forgive, when we choose to love, when we choose to see the humanity in those we view as enemies. This is not easy. It requires strength, courage, and the willingness to face our own darkest fears and deepest prejudices. But it is the only way forward. It is the only way to break the cycle of hatred and violence that has plagued humanity for centuries. And so, as you watch this video, I invite you to reflect. What is the greater purpose behind the conflicts in our world? What can we learn from the struggles of Israel and Iran, from the battles that rage within our own hearts? We must understand that peace is not something we wait for. It is something we create. It is something we build with every act of kindness, with every word of forgiveness, with every moment of understanding. If this video has touched your heart, if it has brought you even a small moment of clarity in these uncertain times, I invite you to join me in spreading this message. Like this video, share it with those who need to hear this message of hope and healing. And if you feel called, consider supporting the creation of more content that seeks to uplift, to heal, and to guide us all toward a better future. Your support, no matter how small, is a gift that makes all the difference. Together, we can create a ripple of change that spreads across the world, one heart at a time. Remember, our words have power. The stories we share, the actions we take, have the power to shape the future. Let us choose to speak life, to speak peace, and to speak love into a world that desperately needs it. Let us walk this journey together with open hearts and a shared vision of healing. And as we do, let us remember that peace begins with us. It begins with the choices we make, the love we give, and the forgiveness we offer. It begins with the courage to believe that a better world is possible. Thank you, from the depths of my heart, for being part of this journey. Your presence here means more than words can express. Together, we can make a difference, one heart at a time. And remember, the light you seek is already within you. All it takes is the courage to shine.